Jim, everybody else track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, then check all them niggas' entries and shit like that. And I'm not taking nothing away from nobody, but I hear the comparisons and the niggas be trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this shit. I'm talking about the industry. I've been putting on. So let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I got to show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard, and if you want to go to the billboard entries, pull up Nas billboard entries, then pull up my billboard entries.
Listen, we can't compare the two. What I'm trying to tell you is
I want to go there and
50 Cent publicly accused Jim Jones and his crew of owing a $250,000 podcast debt and labeled them squatters. And that single move shifted the entire conversation in hip-hop culture. This was not a quiet disagreement handled behind closed doors. It was loud, direct, and intentional. Once the accusation was made, it instantly became bigger than money. It became about respect, power, reputation, and who truly controls the narrative in today's internet-driven culture. The claim centered around a podcast business situation where 50 Cent alleged that Jim Jones and his team failed to pay a large amount of money while still using space and resources. Calling someone a squatter in public is not just an insult. It suggests dishonesty, lack of accountability, and misuse of trust. In hip-hop, where reputation is tied closely to credibility, that kind of accusation hits hard. It questions not only someone's business ethics, but also their character. 50 Cent is known for moving this way. He has built a reputation over many years as someone who does not hesitate to expose situations he believes are wrong. Whether people agree with him or not, his approach has always been the same. He speaks directly, publicly, and without apology. When he makes claims, he does so knowing that the internet will take it from there. This situation followed that exact pattern. Jim Jones, on the other hand, comes from a different position in hip-hop history. He has built his name through music, street presence, and long-standing connections in the culture. His legacy is tied to Harlem, to Dipset, and to decades of visibility in the industry. Because of that, the accusations did not land on someone unknown. They landed on someone with history, supporters, and a reputation to protect. Once the accusation went public, social media reacted immediately. People did not wait for confirmation or full details. Clips, screenshots, and quotes spread across platforms within minutes. Twitter became a battleground where fans of both sides defended their favorite artist. Some praised 50 Cent for exposing what they believed was hidden for too long. Others accused him of disrespecting Jim Jones and trying to humiliate him publicly. The speed of the reaction showed how modern hip-hop drama works. It no longer stays in interviews or music. It lives online, driven by comments, reactions, and shares. Every post adds fuel. Every reaction becomes part of the story. In this case, the internet did not just observe the situation, it shaped it. YouTube played a major role in pushing the story further. Reaction channels broke down the accusation line by line. Creators analyzed body language, tone, and past history between both men. Titles became more dramatic with every upload. Each video added a new layer of speculation. Viewers moved from one video to the next, building their own opinions based on fragments of information. TikTok turned the situation into fast-moving viral content. Short clips with captions, edits, and reactions spread quickly. Serious accusations were mixed with humor, memes, and exaggerated reactions. This made the story reach people who might not normally follow hip-hop news. It became entertainment as much as controversy. Instagram added another dimension. Lives, stories, and comment sections became places where fans argued in real time. Influencers and bloggers discussed the situation openly, sometimes adding their own opinions and theories. Even silence became meaningful. Every moment without a response was interpreted in different ways. The accusation itself was serious because it touched on business integrity. Podcasting is not just content, it is a business built on trust, partnerships, and financial agreements. Claiming that someone owes $250,000 suggests failure to honor those agreements. That kind of claim can affect sponsors, listeners, and future opportunities. It is not just personal, it has real consequences. What made the situation even more intense was the way 50 Cent framed it. He did not present it as a misunderstanding, he presented it as exposure. That framing matters because it tells the audience how to interpret the situation. Instead of asking questions, many people assumed guilt or wrongdoing. The language used shaped perception before facts could be fully discussed. Jim Jones faced a difficult position. Responding too quickly could escalate the situation and give it more attention. Staying silent could allow the narrative to grow without his input. In internet culture, silence is often seen as weakness or admission, even when it is strategic. Every option carried risk. Fans began filling the gaps with their own stories. Some claimed this situation was part of a larger pattern of mismanagement. Others said it was exaggerated and taken out of context. Old interviews, past conflicts, and previous business deals were brought up to support different sides. The truth became harder to separate from opinion. This is where modern internet drama becomes dangerous. Facts often lose importance once emotions take over. People choose sides based on loyalty rather than evidence. Algorithms reward strong reactions, not careful analysis. The louder and more emotional the content, the more it spreads. 50 Cent understands this environment well. He has used it before to control narratives. By making the first move and letting the internet react, he positioned himself as the source of the story. Even without constant follow-up, his initial claims stayed at the center of the discussion. Everything else became a reaction to that moment. The situation also highlighted how power works online. Influence is not just about money or status, it's about attention. Whoever controls attention controls the story. In this case, 50 Cent captured attention immediately and held it. Jim Jones was forced into a reactive position, whether he responded or not. As days passed, speculation grew stronger. People analyzed every small action, a like on a post, a short comment, a vague statement. Everything was examined.
Meaning, even unrelated content was connected back to the feud. The situation became bigger than the original accusation. Media outlets picked up the story, adding another layer of exposure. Headlines simplified the situation, often focusing on the most dramatic elements. This brought the story to even wider audiences. At that point, it was no longer just hip-hop fans paying attention. It was mainstream culture. The longer the situation continued, the more it showed how reputation can be affected in real time. In the past, artists could rely on interviews or music to respond. Now, narratives move faster than responses. By the time someone speaks, opinions may already be formed. This feud also reflected a deeper issue in hip-hop culture. Business and art are deeply connected, but discussions about money are often avoided publicly. When those discussions become public, they challenge the image many artists work hard to maintain. Success is not just about talent, it is about how well you handle business behind the scenes. Fans played a huge role in keeping the story alive. They created content, shared opinions, and argued constantly. In many ways, the feud became a community-driven event. People felt involved, as if their comments and posts mattered. This level of engagement is powerful and difficult to control. At the same time, the situation raised questions about responsibility. Public accusations can damage careers and relationships. If the claims are true, exposure may be justified. If not, the damage can be unfair and long-lasting. The internet rarely forgets, even when stories change later. As the drama continued, it became clear that this was not just about winning an argument, it was about control. Control of the story, control of perception, control of how history will remember the moment. In the digital age, those things matter as much as facts. Both men represent different approaches to power. 50 Cent uses confrontation and public pressure. Jim Jones represents patience, legacy, and long-term influence. When those approaches collide, the result is tension that draws attention. The situation also showed how quickly business issues can turn into cultural moments. A podcast debt became a symbol of larger questions about trust, respect, and authority. That transformation happens because people project their own beliefs onto the situation. As time went on, anticipation grew around what would happen next. Would Jim Jones respond directly? Would there be proof presented? Would the situation fade or escalate? Each possibility kept people engaged. Uncertainty became part of the appeal. This is how internet-driven drama sustains itself. There is always another angle, another reaction, another theory. Even without new information, the conversation continues. People revisit the same points, reinforcing their views. The feud also served as a reminder that fame does not protect anyone from scrutiny. In fact, it invites it. The higher the profile, the more attention mistakes or accusations receive. Public figures live in a constant state of visibility. For creators and fans watching, this situation became a lesson in modern media. It showed how narratives are built, spread, and defended. It showed the power of timing and wording. It showed how quickly situations can grow beyond control. As the story continued to develop, it became less about resolution and more about impact. The impact on reputations, the impact on businesses, the impact on how fans view both men. Even if the situation is resolved privately, the public moment will remain. This moment will likely be referenced in future discussions about hip-hop feuds and online exposure. It fits into a pattern where conflicts are no longer settled quietly. They are performed publicly, with the audience playing an active role. In the end, the situation between 50 Cent and Jim Jones shows how the internet has changed conflict. It is faster, louder, and more permanent. Every action leaves a digital trace. Every word can be replayed and analyzed. As people continue to watch and comment, one thing remains clear. This is not just entertainment. It is a reflection of how power, perception, and culture interact in real time. The outcome will depend not only on what is true, but on who controls the story moving forward. The conversation is still open. Opinions continue to clash. Supporters remain divided. And until there is a clear resolution, the situation will continue to live online. In today's world, that alone is enough to keep it alive. This moment stands as an example of how quickly a single accusation can turn into a global discussion. It shows the influence of social media and the role fans play in shaping narratives. And it reminds everyone watching that in the digital age, nothing stays small for long. As the conversation continued to grow, the focus slowly shifted from the original accusation to the deeper meaning behind it. People were no longer just asking whether the $250,000 debt was real. They were asking why this moment mattered so much. Why did this accusation hit harder than previous hip-hop disputes? The answer lies in how public image works today. In the digital age, image is currency, and once it is questioned, the damage can spread faster than any official response can contain. The internet treated this situation like a live event. Every hour without a response created more tension. Fans refreshed timelines constantly, waiting for the next move. Even silence became content. Posts speculating about Jim Jones' next step gained thousands of likes and shares. Some interpreted the silence as strategy, others saw it as avoidance. No matter the interpretation, the result was the same. The pressure kept building. Meanwhile, 50 Cent did not need to say much more. His initial statement had already done the work. The internet had taken ownership of the narrative. Reaction videos, breakdowns, and debates continued without his involvement. This is a key part of his approach. He often lets the audience carry the message forward. Once the seed is planted, the reaction grows on its own. This situation also highlighted how power dynamics have changed. In the past, record labels, radio stations, and magazines controlled the story. Now, fans and creators decide what matters. A single clip can outweigh years of traditional media coverage. That shift gives artists direct access to the public, but it also removes filters that once slowed things down. Jim Jones supporters worked hard to defend his name. They pointed to his long career, his influence, and his contributions to the culture. They argued that one accusation should not erase decades of work.
They reminded people that rumors and claims do not equal proof. For them, loyalty mattered more than viral narratives. On the other side, 50 Cent's supporters framed the situation as accountability. They argued that business disputes should not be ignored just because someone is respected. In their view, exposure was necessary. They saw 50 Cent as someone who refuses to play by unspoken rules that protect powerful figures. This clash of perspectives kept the story alive. It was not just about two individuals. It became a debate about values: transparency versus loyalty, exposure versus respect, business ethics versus public image. These larger themes gave the story depth and longevity. As days passed, creators continued to find new angles. Some explored the history of podcast deals in hip-hop. Others examined how public feuds affect sponsorships and partnerships. The situation became a case study in modern entertainment. Even people outside hip-hop circles began paying attention. Brands and industry insiders watched closely. Public controversy can scare sponsors, but it can also bring attention. The uncertainty made every decision risky. Aligning with either side could lead to backlash. Staying silent could also be seen as taking a side. This is the reality of modern branding. The role of algorithms cannot be ignored. Platforms pushed content that generated strong reactions. Calm, balanced discussions were often overshadowed by dramatic takes. This encouraged creators to lean into conflict rather than clarity. The louder the opinion, the wider the reach. This environment made it harder for facts to surface. Even if details emerged later, they struggled to compete with the emotional narratives already established. First impressions carried more weight than follow-up explanations. This is one of the biggest challenges of internet-driven discourse. The longer the situation lasted, the more it affected how both men were perceived. For some, 50 Cent reinforced his image as fearless and strategic. For others, he appeared aggressive and disrespectful. Jim Jones was seen by some as composed and patient, and by others as cornered and silent. These perceptions varied widely depending on personal bias. What stood out most was how invested people became. Fans did not just observe, they argued, defended, and attacked. They felt personally connected to the outcome. This level of engagement shows how deeply culture and identity are tied to music figures. As speculation continued, the possibility of escalation always loomed. A response, a counterclaim, or leaked information could shift everything instantly. This uncertainty kept attention locked in. The story felt unfinished, and unfinished stories hold power online. This moment also served as a reminder of how quickly narratives can overshadow reality. The original issue may have been a business dispute, but it transformed into something much larger. It became a symbol of control, influence, and dominance in a digital space. For younger audiences, this feud became a lesson in how quickly reputation can be challenged. For older fans, it reflected how much the culture has changed. Conflicts that once played out slowly now explode in hours. As the discussion continued, one thing became clear: resolution would not necessarily end the conversation. Even if explanations were given, opinions would remain. The internet rarely agrees on a single truth. It holds multiple versions at once. This is why moments like this linger. They become reference points. People will mention this situation in future debates about business, respect, and exposure. It becomes part of the larger story of hip-hop in the digital era. In the end, this situation shows that modern feuds are not just about who is right or wrong. They're about who understands the system better. Timing, wording, and silence all play roles. Control is not just about speaking, it is about knowing when not to. As fans continue to watch, the story remains open. Every new development has the potential to reshape the narrative.
Change the direction. Until then, the conversation lives on, fueled by speculation, loyalty, and the constant motion of the internet. This is not just a clash between two figures. It is a reflection of how culture now operates in public, in real time, with no pause button. And as long as people keep watching, talking, and sharing, the story will continue to evolve.